If you have any questions, please post those in the chat, and we will have some time after we present to answer the questions that might come up during the presentation. All right. Claremont High School currently utilizes Naviance as a support for students with college and career planning. Within the Naviance is where you'll find important documents, scholarship information, and tools to assist you and your student in their post-secondary planning. Every student has a login and a password for Naviance. There is not a parent account, so if you want access to your student's account, you will have to use their login and password information. For any reason, if your student has lost their login or password information, they can contact our career guidance tech, Ms. Suzanne Miller, in our career office. Probably the quickest and easiest way to get into contact with her now. And we can post her email in the chat as well, but it's stmiller@cusd.claremont.edu, and she can assist with retrieving or resetting password and login information. We ask that juniors check their Naviance weekly. Counselors are going to be communicating important information to students via their Naviance account. So it's important that now that they're getting to that junior year, approaching that senior year, that they're checking that weekly. Also, students by default, their Naviance is connected to their school email. We recommend that students go into their Naviance account and change it to their personal email, an email address that they are going to be using on a regular basis. This should also be the same email account that they're using for all their college applications. Once your student graduates, they will no longer have access to their CUSD email account, but colleges will continue to communicate with them beyond their graduation date. So it's important that they're using a personal email account that they are using and that they will have access to beyond their graduation. We are in the process of moving to a new career college platform. Don't anticipate any problems with that, as we anticipate being able to transfer student information right over to that new platform. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case you're starting to hear or see different information other than Naviance. We're planning to transfer to that new and approved platform for the 21-22 school year. Now is the time. Even though you physically cannot walk on and to visit college campuses, now is the time to start doing virtual tours to those college campuses. Supermatch and Big Future are a great way to kind of develop a prospective college list and start to schedule some of those virtual tours. Schools are well aware of that their doors are closed, their campuses are closed, so they've kind of enhanced their virtual tours where you can really get a realistic view of what that campus might look like as if you were walking onto that campus as well. So some of those videos are neat, and actually some students probably prefer that than having to travel. It also opens up the door where you can do that now. You don't have to wait to those vacation times to be able to explore college campuses now that more schools have it virtually. So definitely something to start exploring now and virtually doing virtual tours for college campuses. As you're considering college campuses, don't be afraid to step outside of California, or if you're considering stepping outside of California to attend school outside of the state, one website that you would want to get familiar with is the Western Undergraduate Exchange. It's an agreement between 16 of the Western states with over 160 colleges and universities that participate, but they offer reduced tuition where students can attend their school and not have to pay the out-of-state tuition rates. So definitely something to look into if you're considering school outside of California, but you want to stay kind of local on the West Coast. There are more than 2,500 colleges or universities out there, and they're not all the same. So it's important to start doing that research and figuring out what's important for you out of a college. Supermatch and Big Future, this is exactly when that comes into play. It's a fun and easy and creative way to kind of gain that perspective list of colleges that may be a good fit for you. So you can put in factors of location, size, student body, what majors they have, if athletics on campus, when we do return is important for you. You can put all of those traits within Supermatch or Big Future and it will shoot out a list on how that college fits you. And that's where you can start beginning virtual tours and creating that list and sending out for information there. So definitely encourage you now to get onto Naviance if you haven't, and play with Supermatch, or go onto College Board and play with Big Future to kind of start developing a prospective college list. We often hear about how selective colleges are and that students rarely get admitted to some of the top ranked colleges across the country. Here's a short list of some of the schools that rank within the top 100 that admit more than between 50 and 70% of their applicants each year. So the key is just to plan early, identify schools, research their requirements, and you will find that school that's a good fit for you. With over 2,500 schools, there's a college campus out there that's a great fit for every student out there. When you're thinking about college, it's important to understand that there are several different types of colleges to consider. One of those is the community college system. It's open registration. Students only need to be 18 years of age or have a high school diploma. Registration for the community college, or the application period, usually starts late fall, early spring of your senior year, and it's a free online application. There are a lot of benefits of attending the California Community College. One is they offer priority transfer to UC and CSU campuses for students who complete 2 years of their undergrad study. Also, they have several certificate programs. So there are several students who have identified that it might not require a 4-year college degree to go into the field or into the workforce. So they can attend certificate programs that some are as short as 9 months at the community college and earn training and certificates to enter the workforce. This is it's low cost, and there's financial aid available. At $46 per unit, a typical student will take 15 units per semester, so $690 per semester. For the past 2 years, students who have completed the FAFSA have qualified for the California Promise Grant, which waives the $46 per unit enrollment fee at the community college campus. One of the myths out there is that community college services students who could not get into a 4-year college or university, and that is not true at all. Actually, all of our local community colleges offer an honors program. So these are students who meet the minimum GPA requirement of 3.0. They're able to study in cohort groups with some of the top professors at the community college campus. And there is agreements with 4-year college and universities for students who successfully complete the honors program at the community college. So again, community college service a wide range of students, and there's a ton of benefits for community college enrollment. We talked about the certificate programs. These are a small sample of some of the certificate programs that are offered at our local community colleges, which are Citrus, Mount Sac, and Chaffey. So again, this is just a short list, but if you go onto the school's website, you can put certificate programs into the search bar, and it will list everything that they offer at that particular community college campus. Students might also have 4-year colleges or university in mind. That is an option. Within the state of California, you have the choice between the UC and the CSU system, as well as out-of-state public schools. We talked about if you're considering out-of-state, and again, if it's on the West Coast, make sure you familiarize yourself with the Western Undergraduate Exchange. There are a ton of options when you're looking at the private schools as well that stretch throughout California and across the country. Some have a religious affiliation, some are non-denominational, and they focus on different things as well. The California public colleges, we have the CSU and the UC system. Both systems require students to complete 16-year-long courses referred to as the A through G requirements with a minimum GPA to be eligible. There are 9 UC campuses, and they target to admit the top 1/8 of students statewide. And there's 23 Cal State campuses, and they target to service the top 1/3% of students statewide. So the Cal State campuses are a little bit less selective. I don't want to say they're not selective because every college campus out there has requirements. So they're going to be selective, but they're a lot less selective than the UC based on the number of space and the requirements to get in. For the class of 2022, the SAT or ACT, I know a lot of people are probably cheering at home, is not going to be required for students, graduates of the class of 2022. There is also the private college system. It's important if you're considering private colleges to familiarize yourself with the school's website in their admissions office, because each college is going to have their own admissions requirements. So by meeting the UC requirements, you tend to satisfy the requirement for most private colleges and universities, but it's always important to know specifically if that college requires anything beyond those minimum UC requirements. If in doubt, contact the admissions office. Also utilize your counselors, us here at the school, as a resource to direct you to where you may be able to get that information. Private colleges will require some supplemental information from students. They are going to require students to submit an essay as part of their application. They're also going to require recommendations to be submitted as part of the application. Here they're trying to find out just the student's self-discipline, if they're motivated, their ability, if there was any hardships that they've overcome. So they're trying to get to know the student, the whole student. They're going to want to know if you've been enrolled in any extra academic courses beyond the minimum requirements. Again, that's something we'll talk about when students come in for registration. We'll ask them, what's your post-secondary plan? And then we'll look at the courses that they select, making sure that they're taking care of any additional academic courses or anything beyond that's going to be needed for their application. They're also going to want students to be involved as volunteering in their community. I know it's a lot harder right now for you, this junior class, because of the safer at home orders. But again, there's different ways that students can get out and volunteer virtually. Now they're going to want students to be involved in extracurricular activities at school and leadership opportunities when available. And then we'll consider other factors, whether you're first generation, family members, the area where you're coming from. So there's a lot of things that they're going to look into at the private colleges to consider for admission. Letters of recommendation. The private schools, most schools are going to require 3 letters of recommendation, 2 from teachers and 1 from your counselor. Remember, UCs and Cal States do not require letters of recommendation. Although if you are applying to only UC and CSU campuses, keep in mind that if you're applying to scholarships, it might require you to submit a letter of recommendation. But we'll talk about the process of requesting a letter of recommendation a little bit later on in the presentation. This is a perfect time to start thinking about which teachers you would want to consider to write you a letter. We recommend that you consider a current teacher. These are the teachers who have the most recent experience with you as a student. So again, try to identify some of those teachers now that you have as a junior to write you letters of recommendation for the colleges that might need them. Ideally by May 21st. So again, it's important now to start identifying those teachers so that you can approach them by May 21st, asking if they would write a letter of recommendation on your behalf next year. So don't expect them to write the letter now, but you're just giving their commitment that next year they're going to provide that letter for you. The summer is a great time to work on your counselor questionnaire. So there's going to be 25, 26 questions or so that we're going to ask you to complete so that we can get to know some additional things that we might not have known about you that might be helpful for college admissions officers to know. The deadline to request letters of recommendation from counselor as well as teachers is going to be Monday, September 20th. Again, so that's why you want to start on that process now of identifying those teachers, working on that counselor questionnaire as well as your teacher questionnaire. It's the student's responsibility to identify if colleges require a letter of recommendation as well as the specific requirements. So again, being organized is the key. If you are able to attend junior night, or if you weren't, please go on and listen to our student speaker. Each year that we have a speaker that comes to junior night, the one thing that they touch on is how early they started in the process and how organized they were during the process. So again, make sure you know what schools are requiring, when their deadlines are, because every campus is not going to be the same. We talked about Naviance. That's the place where we house all the documents and information that you might need in the college application process. This is where you will find the paperwork to request a teacher letter of recommendation, as well as the paperwork to request a counselor letter of recommendation. And there you will also get instructions as well, because over the past 2 years, it's been different. We were face-to-face and we were able to do this differently. This year we had to modify it and we did it virtually. So hopefully next year we'll be back and we can go back to that same process. But again, there will be specific instructions depending on where we are and returning to school with that. But you still can go on and you can download the information and you can start answering those questions either way. Definitely when considering college and college options, we definitely have to consider financing college. There are several sources out there that will help you finance your college education. Number one being just federal aid. This includes grants, loans, and work study. For grants, that's money that you do not have to pay back. Work study is an employment that on campus that will go towards your tuition. And then there's the loans that require repayment. There's scholarships out there. There's scholarships for several different things. I always say the students who earn scholarships or get scholarships are the students who work hard and research and look and are willing to put forth the work and turn in scholarship applications. So we'll talk about an easy way to kind of identify scholarships. There's institutional aid. So this is aid that's going to be granted from the school. It could be need-based aid based on family income and size, or there's merit-based aid based on students' achievements as well. One thing this early in the process, do not let the sticker price deter you from your process in identifying schools. Less than 12% of students actually pay full tuition for college. So again, most students will get some sort of money to help finance their college education. A great way to see what might be a realistic cost, not going by that sticker price, is using Net Price Calculator or My Intuition. You're able to put in all of your parents' financial information. They're able to take that and include all this information and kind of give you a realistic net price on what it might be, taking into consideration what you might get from aid and everything that you provide on that information there. So again, do not look at that sticker price and what that price is to attend that college, because it's more than likely that you are going to get something to help bring down the fees for that college tuition. Talked about scholarships. FAFSA. FAFSA is something that every student should log on to and create an account. You go onto FAFSA, you create a student profile, and they will do some scholarship searching for you. Based on your profile, they will identify scholarships, grants, internships, and everything that might fit you. So it's a quick, easy way to identify scholarships. We post scholarships in Naviance. Another reason why students need to get familiar with Naviance and check it weekly. Now's the time that we get a ton of scholarship information coming through our emails. Once we vet it and make sure that it's no scam, we send that over to our guidance tech and she uploads that to Naviance. So again, you can find scholarships within Naviance. Local scholarships, we post in a daily bulletin as well, and they're posted in the Career Center. So again, as juniors, make sure you're keeping up to date, as well as when you're seniors is going to be more important, because most of the scholarships will be directed towards seniors that you're looking in the daily bulletin for scholarship opportunities. Keep in mind, do not pay any money for a scholarship. Scholarships are intended to give you money, not for you to pay money. So there's a lot of scams out there, and if they're asking you for a credit card or anything in order to get a scholarship, move past that, pass that on to the next person. We recommend that every family fills out a FAFSA. Our financial aid speaker always says life happens, and we're sitting here right now with life happening that no one expected. So again, no matter what your situation is now, we recommend that everyone fills out a FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. Without completing the FAFSA, you are not eligible to receive the federal aid opportunities that we talked about earlier. If you are a student and you stay in California, you could be eligible for a Cal Grant for attending any college, community college, private school, trade school in California, but you will not be eligible for that if you do not fill out a FAFSA. The FAFSA does require a minimum GPA. We do that for your behalf at Claremont, so there is no GPA upload that you have to get signed and send in. We do that for every student at Claremont High School. Another thing to be aware of is that some private schools will ask students to complete a CSS profile as part of their application as well. Both the financial aid, the FAFSA, the federal application for federal student aid, as well as the CSS profile, open on October 1st. We host a financial aid night every fall, so that financial aid speaker will come in and go into detail of filling out the FAFSA, of aid that might be available, and answer all the questions with that. But just remember that there's money out there, and the first step to being eligible for any type of aid is completing that FAFSA, which opens on October 1st. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Abear, because I know this is probably one of the topics that everyone has a lot of questions on, and it seems to be changing on a daily basis.
Good evening, everybody. So if you're a four-year college-bound student, maybe you have friends or siblings who graduated years ago, you're probably thinking about admissions tests, because typically juniors in the spring start their SAT or ACT. But in the last few years, there have been many colleges that have been re-examining their use of admission tests for applicants. They're finding that they weren't as predictive of future college success. And many colleges were already looking at changing, again, their testing requirements. But when the pandemic hit, the colleges recognized all the challenges kids were having in taking the test. So for the class of 2021, our current seniors in your class, we are anticipating that the relaxed testing requirements for four-year college admission will continue. As you're looking at colleges, you may see that colleges are using the term recommending testing, recommending either SAT or ACT, and most colleges accept either. But keep in mind that taking a test right now, like the SAT or ACT, is not feasible for us. We are in very strict stay-at-home orders, and colleges do recognize that. I also want to mention that if you are looking at California community colleges, after graduation, they have never required admissions test, and they will not be requiring admission tests ever in the next, for many, many years. There are two testing agencies or tests, the SAT and the ACT, and they have a published national testing schedule. But again, our students here cannot test safely. If you register for a test, if you had registered in December for a test in February, you would not be able to test because of the stay-at-home orders. Again, colleges are likely to continue the test optional conditions for many students because of the restrictions in testing. If conditions allow for testing, you can refer to the SAT and the ACT test schedule that we have posted on the important dates for juniors. That information is on the website. It's also in Naviance under document resources. We did want to be transparent about those national testing dates. So if things get better quickly, you could take the SAT or ACT in later spring or early summer or early fall. A big change in admission testing has been the subject tests. The SAT subject tests are 1-hour exams measuring your mastery of a certain subject area. And effective today, the agency, College Board, that publishes the subject tests have discontinued them. If you registered for a subject test coming up in March or May or June, you will be refunded your money. They have completely discontinued the subject tests. When it is safe to take a subject test, you certainly may do so. And the code for Claremont High School is 050590. That allows your test scores to be sent to the high school so that we can input that information in your documents, not your transcript. Your test scores never appear on your transcript, but it's information we as counselors will see as we guide you through the college search and application process. Most colleges will accept either test, the SAT or ACT. Historically, students would take both exams to see where their skills were strongest and where they had their best performance. There are links in Naviance to register for SAT or ACT. And when you register for the SAT or ACT, please use your legal name, because that needs to match, your legal name needs to match your legal name on your college applications, which also matches your legal name on school documents like your transcript. So please don't use nicknames when registering for these important tests, much like your AP exams if you've registered for them, or IB exams, that's your legal name. Here's just a brief overview of the two different admissions tests. The SAT is half reading and writing, and the other half is math. The scale ranges from 400 to 1600 for a perfect score. And the essay portion used to be optional for the SAT, but this too has now been discontinued effective now. Today is when they made this announcement. So this is brand new news for lots of people. The ACT is a different test. It is 1/4 English, 1/4 math, 1/4 reading, and 1/4 science. The science is not necessarily something very difficult or challenging. If you've taken biology and chemistry, maybe you're in a 3rd year science this year as a junior, you will be fine. Don't be scared by that. The grading scale is between 1 and 36, 36 being a perfect score, and their writing assessment still continues. They have not announced any changes on that. Again, the subject tests have been discontinued. So if you, in your research, find a school that says they recommend subject tests, and this was very common, especially for majors like engineering, understand that you will no longer be able to take a subject test in math or any other subject effective now. So you can not worry about how to take a subject test. They're being discontinued, and some of the information on the websites that you may encounter may not have caught up to this news of the last 12 hours. If you're looking for schools that really don't require testing, then you may want to take a look at fairtest.org. And they have been a very instrumental group in helping colleges see some of the limitations of admission testing. And they have over 800 colleges that are test optional or test blind. They don't want to see any test scores at all. If you receive free or reduced lunch, you can get a fee waiver for the SAT or the ACT. Please notify us, your counselors, if you need that option. Khan Academy is a great tool for free for the SAT preparation. Many of you already have a Khan Academy account as part of your getting extra tutoring. You can also use the SAT prep to help you get free SAT preparation. If, as you're researching colleges, you may want to take note if a college does need SAT or ACT, make sure you identify the deadlines for the last time you can take a test. And this might be important, especially as conditions improve. And if the school really needs a test score, maybe you could test as late as November or December of your senior year, which gives you additional time. As you're looking at college applications, you'll start to see some of the application options that are out there. There are early programs called Early Decision and Early Action that will allow you to apply early, and you will find out earlier than most, usually within about 8 weeks if you've been admitted. Early Decision is a binding commitment. You can only apply to one early decision school per cycle, and if they accept you, you must accept their offer. So it is binding. It's a way to show that you really have a first choice school. But it's not a decision you want to make very casually, because early decision is binding. Early action is different. You apply early, you find out early, but you have until May 1, the national date of admission decisions, to decide if you want to accept their admission offer. Many schools use regular decision, which has a stated application deadline, and generally most applicants find out their admission decisions in February or March of senior year. Rolling admission is simply they accept applications on an ongoing basis. The University of Alaska is an example of a school with rolling admissions, but sometimes campuses do fill up quickly, so you don't want to be very cavalier or casual about the rolling admission timelines. If you see a school with rolling admission and you wish to apply there, go for it. Don't wait until the deadline to apply. California community colleges open in the spring of your senior year for application. Their application is free. It's online. Admission is guaranteed, provided you are a graduate or you are 18. And you can apply anytime in March. And you can apply to multiple community colleges. There is no penalty for doing that. And you can decide later on which school you wish to attend. If you're planning to play competitive sports in college, then you should be registering with the NC2A and their eligibility center. Many colleges are governed by the NC2A, Division I and Division II. And if you're thinking of playing sports in colleges that are D1 and D2, you do need to go to the eligibility center to register. There is a $75 fee associated with this process. If you receive free or reduced lunch, your counselor can waive the fee, so please notify us. The NC2A has required SAT or ACT scores in the past. They made a brief suspension to the SAT or ACT scores, but they have not yet announced if that is going to be in place for the class of 2022. But if you do have an opportunity to take the SAT or ACT for the NC2A, it's a lot of acronyms, know that the NC2A's code for receiving your scores is a series of 4 9s. You start the NC2A eligibility process now in your junior year, ideally the spring. The NC2A has a requirement of 16 approved classes for Division I and Division II. If you're not sure if you are still interested in the NC2A, please mention it to your counselor when we meet with you in February to review your course requests. If you are interested, we want to make sure you hit that goal. And the NC2A eligibility has a GPA and test score index. So we'll remind you of that and just talk about that eligibility process to guide your decision-making for senior year. Here are the requirements for Division I and Division II. Basically, 4 years of English is the same as your high school graduation and college admission, but the NC2A also wants to see 2 years of social science easily met because we require 3. They need 3 years of math, 2 years of science, an additional year of English, math, or science, plus 4 years of a subject matter noted above to equal 16 core courses. And the GPA requirements are listed here for Division I, 2.3, and 2.2 for Division II. If you're looking at a Division III school, they do not have the same requirements, the academic requirements. And if you're looking at schools that are not NC2A, then NAIA, they don't have the same requirements either, but NC2A schools do. One thing we want to remind students of is the Technology Education Challenge exam. To graduate from CHS, you need either a semester of technology education And some of you may have taken tech ed in middle school, and if you did and passed the class, then you have met that requirement. Otherwise, you need to take a semester of tech ed in high school or pass the challenge exam. The challenge exam will be on February 10th. If you're knowledgeable in Word and you're knowledgeable in Google Docs like spreadsheets or Excel, you know, PowerPoint or Google presentations, you know how to make an email, you know how to collaborate via Google Docs, then you may want to take the challenge exam to show your readiness for this test. And there is a link there for you to register. You want to register at least a week and a half early for the challenge exam. And passing is 70%. You don't have to be perfect to pass the challenge exam. We talked earlier about volunteering. We understand that there are restrictions due to the pandemic, but here are some local agencies and facilities that have traditionally welcomed high school students to volunteer. Right now, we have students working with Art Start virtually and through tutoring programs virtually, helping. Some of the other facilities have had more restrictions, as you can imagine, because of the nature of the residents at like the hospital or Mount San Antonio Gardens, which is largely a retirement community. But there are still ways to volunteer. And if you're doing something more personal, like maybe helping a sibling or helping your parent with certain tasks at home, or you're helping a neighbor, making sure their trash cans go out, or that their leaves are raked so they don't fall off their porch or path. Those are other kind things you can do too and help someone else. We want to mention that summer school will happen this year. Traditionally, we offer summer school to remediate courses. So if you failed a class or you got a D in a class and you want to improve your grade, summer school will be here for you. We hope to have the registration forms probably out by mid-March. We will also offer get ahead classes like government and econ. We also plan to offer a full year of pre-calculus and a full year of chemistry in summer school. When you are making your course requests for senior year, we do want you to indicate the social science, government, and econ class that you wish to take. And then when we meet with you via your US history classes, and you want to talk about summer school, we can talk about how to amend that. But for now, your course request should include government and econ for senior year. We'll address the summer school as we have more information. Alternative education is offered by the district. For some students, San Antonio High School is an alternative to be considered. If you're falling behind in credit, that might be something to consider. Their pace and their homework demands are much less than the high school. So San Antonio High School could be an option if you are interested. The state also offers a high school proficiency exam to exit early from high school. However, this exam has been postponed due to the pandemic. There is also the GED in adult school. Students must be within a month of their 18th birthday before being eligible for either of those options. But counselors have more information about alternative education. As you're looking to plan your senior year coursework, you do have the choice to take IB or AP courses. IB and AP courses are similar in that they're very rigorous and they have a lot of reading and writing demands. You have to request IB or AP in order to get it. We won't assume that because you have A's in English since 9th grade, we won't assume to put you in AP or IB English. So you do need to request the course. Both courses have a weighted GPA, and that means an A, B, and C gets an extra point in the GPA calculation. You must check the prerequisites for any course, including AP or IB courses, to make sure you are eligible. One advantage for taking an AP or an IB course is that when you take the AP or IB test for that course, and those tests are held in May, a sufficient score can give you credit for passing that course so that you can start college more advanced than the freshman year, or maybe bypass a freshman English class and then go to a higher level English class. So when you hear of students sometimes finishing their bachelor's degree in 3 years or starting college at the sophomore level, it's because they took AP and IB courses and their corresponding test to get ahead when they got to college. If you request an AP course or IB course, understand that sometimes switching later on to the regular college prep version may not be possible. It all depends on space availability. ROP classes are offered on our campus. We offer 3D game animation, games and simulations, sports medicine. A new course is starting next year called Business Management, which will be really exciting, I think, to a lot of students who are thinking about careers in business. Stage tech, working behind the scenes in the theater, and criminal justice are all here. But within our 4-district consortium, we also have classes on welding and heating and air conditioning, cosmetology. So there are lots of different programs out there that you can try to see. Maybe you are thinking about a certain career. It's a great way to test it out. And oftentimes you can get skills that can be employable skills so you can earn more than a minimum wage as you're finishing high school or starting college later on too. So don't forget some of those ROP options. Mrs. Miller in the Career Center can tell you about some of the off-campus ROP classes if you are interested, and our email is below the slide. As you're going into your final exams next week and completing your junior year, remember that your junior grades are the last set of grades that colleges see when you apply in the fall for admission. And your good academic performance this year helps you to avoid taking remedial coursework. So grades do matter, and we want to encourage you there. For those of you who are thinking about taking summer school classes outside of the district, outside courses vary in their content and their pacing. Oftentimes they do not align well to the courses that you would then see the subsequent year. For example, students who want to take a math course off campus and then continue math in their senior year. We have seen many instances where the off-campus math course did not align to the learning that is required to be successful in that subsequent math or that subsequent world language. So we really can't give advice or recommendations on any summer programs outside of our district. And also, not all programs are equally accredited, both for the college admission standards as well as the NC2A. And all of that matters for many of your plans. So please always talk to your counselor first, but we cannot consent to outside courses. As you're getting ready to do your course contracts or your course selections electronically, one thing to keep in mind is if you are able and willing to take a first period class next year, first period classes traditionally start at 6:50, and we hope to be back in our buildings for the start of your senior year. So that is something to keep in mind. Your course selections are going to be done electronically, and the course contracts are due by February 5th. We are holding office hours tomorrow, next Wednesday, and February 3rd to answer questions for students about course selections. So please take advantage of the office hours. The link is on the website, and we are there to answer all your questions. And we can even go into breakout rooms to answer your questions privately. So not everyone has to hear our conversations. And starting in February, late February, counselors will be meeting with all juniors. We are going to group you by your social science class, and we're going to go over those electronic course requests. And we are together, the student and the counselor, we will go through each of your courses and confirm them for senior year. We can answer questions about summer school, or if you had a question about, which math class might be better, we can always make those changes when we meet. And on this slide showing here, find your U.S. history teacher's name and your period, and you'll see when we will meet with you via Zoom to go over your senior year course requests.
Ms. Aber, sorry to jump in real quick. We are missing part of the table on this particular slide.
Okay.
The full table is actually uploaded on both the Canvas site and also on the CHS website under the course selection section. So we're missing about half the classes. So I'm not sure how that got cut off on this particular slide, but it is on the website.
Thank you. All right, so that is that for the presentation. Now would be the time to answer any questions that families have, students have.
All right, so right now you guys are welcome to put some questions in the chat. If the chat isn't working for you, you are also welcome to email me. My email is in the chat that we have. Yeah, the email is in the chat on YouTube. If you do have any specific questions for me, I know that Mr. Trosh has also been looking and answering many of our emails or our questions in the chat. So again, feel free to go ahead and put any questions that you have in there for right now. Where can we find the form to take a citrus class during senior year?
When you meet with your counselor through the U.S. history classes in Zoom, we should be able to give you that information. We need to collate all the information for some of the citrus classes, and then the additional forms will be circulated.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't see any emails coming in right now. There are not very many questions in the chat that we have here. I know one person did ask for us to put the Tech Ed Challenge Exam link in the chat, and it is in there for anyone that is interested. You can click on that link if you would like to sign up for the Tech Ed Challenge Exam. Another question that Mr. Trosh did address, but I also kind of think that might be good. So it asked, how would we indicate that we want to take an elective for only one semester and take a class like economics in the next semester? When you sign up for an elective, it would be a year-long elective. If you have questions about something that specific, ask your counselor. You can ask us when you meet with us in February one-on-one through your history classes, or again, on the screen right now, you will see those office hours days, January 13th, 20th, 27th, and February 3rd. That's also a time that you can come in and get some questions answered. The next question is it too late to sign up for Art Start? I don't have any information on Art Start. Ms. Hebert or Mr. Anderson, do either of you have information on that?
It should be under the clubs listing on the CHS website. If you go to the ASB tab, you should be able to see the clubs, and the Art Start should be reflected there. And there should be an email so that students can either speak to somebody or just join their club meetings.
Awesome, thank you. So will there be instructions on how to choose appropriate classes and not mistakenly choose one he is not allowed in?
So when you go to the Google form for your course request, you will see the instructions. Should you make a mistake, that happens. That's why we are asking that students do their course request by February 5th. It allows us to then input them in the computer and allows us to review those requests when we meet with your students through history classes and confirm them. So if there's a mistake, we'll identify it and fix it.
In addition to that, we are hosting the office hours. And that's a great opportunity if you have any questions while you're filling that out or prior to filling that out to attend those office hours, because you're going to have access to your counselor, and all 7 counselors will be there during those office hours who can answer any question that you might have in completing that course, your electronic course request.
So a popular question is, where's the link for the office hours? And also where's the link for the counselor specific office hours? That is on the school's website. If you go onto the counseling page, if you go just under the counseling home, our emails and then a direct link for student office hours are directly on there. So you can make an appointment with us. I love this system so much because it gives us the availability of you have access straight to our calendar. So you know when we're available, and it gives me a Zoom link and it gives you a Zoom link. And it is an awesome way for us to be able to chat. It's the best thing that I can think of that is not you guys walking into our offices during office hours on campus.
Please remember that the individual office hours are not geared towards the registration appointment meetings. We're going to have those individual meetings when you come through with your social science course. But if you have specific registration questions, you should be attending the counselor office hours during those stated times from 1 to 2 o'clock on the 13th, 20th, 27th, and February 3rd.
And the link to those office hours is on the calendar on the CHS website. It's on the CHS course selection website, and it's also on the junior Canvas page. So it's in 3 different places.
Awesome. All right. So what is the minimum number of classes a student can take per semester their senior year beyond the required English and government econ if they do not need many units to graduate?
So if your student is on track for graduation, the minimum required courses are 5 at the high school. That is considered full-time status, so 5 is the answer.
Are all ROP courses off campus, and do they count as electives? No, not all of our ROP classes are offered off campus. We do have several that are offered on our campus. And yes, they typically would count as an elective.
The graduation requirement is either a year of world language or a year of career and technical education, like an ROP class, or a year of visual or performing arts. So it can fulfill a grad requirement too.
All right, and then on the Google form for course requests, will there be a Citrus College courses like there were this past year?
Yes, they will be listed as options. The Citrus College, the concurrent dual enrollment classes, excuse me. So Citrus College offers a few classes at our school under dual enrollment, and those are the ones that you will see on the course contract.
Thank you. On the chat, I just want to address, there's a couple non-registration specific questions. If you have those, please make sure you are, again, you can email us and ask those questions. I just want to stick to registration questions at this time. If we find an AP Econ summer offerings through a different school, would the AP weight transfer over?
For the school year, you need to be enrolled in one school. So if you want AP Econ, select it through CHS.
So another question is are there any disadvantages if I don't take the ACT or SAT? What is recommended does recommended mean they're going to consider it?
So if the school says that test scores are recommended, they're saying that they still like to see test scores. Now, if you cannot, as a Southern California resident, you cannot take a test because we're not permitted to be in buildings with close proximity, then when that time comes 9 months from now, it's going to be what it's going to be. And we all anticipate that colleges will have to amend their test requirements, certainly for certain geographic locations because of the realities of our situation. But if things improve, and that's why we stated it that way earlier, if things improve and you can take a test and you are looking at colleges that recommend or like to see a test score and you can take it, it will be to your advantage to try it. But if they say test blind, they don't want to see your test scores, they don't need them at all. But if you see recommended, that's why we brought up that discussion.
If I get more units in math and science, would those count towards my needed elective credit?
Yes, anything above and beyond the graduation requirements go towards your elective bank, as your transcript reflects. And the same is true also for college admissions. So if colleges want to see 2 years of world language, which is the case for most colleges, and you do 3 or 4, that just adds to those years of college prep electives as well.
All right, it looks like that is about all of our questions for right now. Looking at my email, there was another question of, is there info for course selection on the website? Yes, it is available on the school's website. There's also a Canvas course for it. If on the slide where we talked about when each student will be meeting with their US history teacher, there was also a question on that. That information is available on the website as well. So please be looking at that. But that information is available on the website for when all students will be meeting with their US history teacher. US history teachers hopefully will start announcing that as well.
And I just wanted to make this point out to students as well, because I know there's been, it seems like a long time that we've been away from school, and counselors have been away from that check-in process with students. But we're going to still continue with that same process where part of the registration will be reviewing your graduation requirements. We will review your A through G completion as well. So we're going to make sure that you're on the right track to meet all of your high school plans as well as your post-secondary plans as well. But I know it has seemed kind of distant between counselors and students just because everyone's been working remotely from the comforts of their own home. But we will still continue to monitor your progress and continue to review that with you to make sure that you're on pace to meet all of your goals.
All right, a couple more questions just coming through. Is it the table that was showed earlier said that it was from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, but we don't have classes at that time? We know. That's why we chose those times from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to be able to meet with you guys. We want to make sure that you are getting all of the class time possible with your teachers this year. And so it is by US history teacher, just to make sure that it's easily known when you're going to meet with us, but we know it is not during class time, it's during asynchronous time. So hopefully you guys will be able to all be able to meet with us. All right, one more specific question. It was, does advanced video production and film meet the UC CSUG requirement credit?
Yes, it does. It fulfills the F requirement.
Just to clarify, I had this question outside of this meeting. The G requirement for our students is met by additional years of science, additional years of math, additional years of history, and every one of our students meets the G requirement in their senior year when they take a semester of government and a semester of econ. So that G requirement sometimes is a little confusing, but all of our students will meet that at the very least in their senior year with 1 semester of government and 1 semester of econ.
All right, I have a couple more questions being emailed to me. One is regarding if a student wants to take a class at a community college. If they want to take that, I would really encourage to look into the offerings that we offer at Claremont High School for our dual enrollment program. The question said, what do I need to get from the school and who do I talk to for them to be admitted to the community college? What's the question?
They will still require the concurrent enrollment form. That's something that you would get from the community college. Definitely communicate with your counselor because it does require consent from your counselor that we approve the course because there's certain reasons that the community college will approve for you to take a concurrent enrollment course. So that approval is needed from your counselor. So prior to going through that process, I would send an email out to your counselor and let them know what your plans are, which course you plan on taking. And then once you get that approval, then you will go over to the community college register, and they will provide you with a concurrent enrollment form to be completed by your counselor.
But it would behoove a lot of students to think about the Citrus College dual enrollment classes we offer, including English 101, Art 110, Music 113. Those courses earn both high school credit, which will go in your high school transcript, and you also keep your college credit. Under dual enrollment, those two things can happen. But if you take an outside community college class, even at Citrus, the same college that hosts our dual enrollment courses, you will not get that dual enrollment or that double credit option. The other challenge would be if you're taking a community college class, potentially they will have in-class sessions in the fall or spring of your senior year, and you would have to make sure that you can physically attend them. It cannot be during school hours. We cannot approve you to take an off-campus class at 9 a.m. when physically you should be at CHS if we're back in our buildings.
All right, and then finally, a popular question. Are athletes getting PE credits for the season this year, since we haven't been able to have a season?
If you are conditioning with the team at Claremont High School, you will be earning PE credits whether or not you are ever able to compete in a match or a game or an event.
I specifically spoke with Mr. Collins earlier today about this for one of my students. Sports that are happening in the spring, the coaches are currently working on a conditioning schedule, whether a season starts or not. So even if you haven't started your sport yet, that is coming.
All right, it looks like those are all of the questions in the chat for right now. And I don't have any more in my email. So thank you guys all so much for coming. Again, please join us during office hours if you have specific questions, the 20th, 27th, and the 3rd.